Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sacred Icon podcast, but it's also kind of a crossover. I wanted to say Sacred Games Daily, but this is our main show episode of Sacred Icon, and we're kind of doing a crossover here to introduce you guys to our companion podcast proper. I've obviously plugged it on previous episodes, but there's not enough of you listening over there, so we had to buckle down and go hard in the paint on a full episode. So what this episode is basically going to be is to give you guys a taste of what it's like over at Sacred Games Daily, where we talk about daily gaming news in 30 minutes, but as a combo with the Sacred Icon podcast, this is going to be a full hour with Josh here, and we're going to talk about news released today. This is the 20th of March, 2024, a Wednesday, and it's a pretty big day for news. The standouts are the State of Unreal 2024 showcase, and some Dragon's Dogma II reviews finally went up. That game's about to release. We got a lot to talk about here, three of us to talk about it. So basically the point of this, guys, is to say, hey, you listen to Sacred Icon, you're here to listen to this. If you like what we have here, go check out Sacred Games Daily. For those of you that don't know, it's a companion podcast to Sacred Icon. If you search Sacred Icon on your platforms of choice or YouTube, you will find Sacred Games Daily as well, or you can just search Sacred Games Daily. Sacred Games Daily is primarily me and Joe, like I said, talking for 30 minutes about gaming news from that day. Josh will periodically join us on there as well. He's already on one episode. This will low-key kind of be his second episode. Your normal programming on Sacred Icon will be me and Josh talking about whatever the hell we want to talk about, whether that's games or movies, shows, whatever. But this is the crossover episode to bring you in. So make sure you go check that out. We'd really appreciate it. Everything's kind of shared since it's a companion podcast. If you want to write into Sacred Games Daily or leave a voice clip, it's the same as Sacred Icon. It's sacrediconpodcast@gmail.com. The Patreon's the same. The Discord's the same. It's just, hey, go to this other channel if you want extra content, gaming news. It's a lot of fun. So, to introduce you guys, we have Joe Smalley, who is usually with me on the Sacred Games Daily podcast. How are you doing, Joe?
Doing well.
That's great. And then we have Josh, that you all know and love, who's joining us here again. Josh, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. Happy to be here. I love that you said you're pushing the podcast and you said in the paint. What do you think? What basketball position do you think might end up in the paint?
Basketball position might end up in the paint? Well, I would guess it's the taxidermist.
The taxidermist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely the taxidermist.
That's very close.
Yeah. What is it actually? Do you know?
Any position. Point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. So when you said in the paint, I'm like, where's Brian getting that from? Where are you?
I don't know. Hard in the paint, man. You know, people go hard in the paint. We're going hard in the paint.
You guys might as well speak hieroglyphics right now, because I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about.
Some kind of sports ball, Joe.
Some kind of American thing. I don't know what that is.
But yeah, guys, we'll get right into it because there's three of us, and I know we can be very chatty, so there's actually quite a bit of news here. First, we're going to dive into everything announced at the State of Unreal 2024. Some of it's really interesting, some of it's kind of meh. We're just going to kind of go through it, talk about it. For those of you that want to know where we're pulling our information, I have a list on IGN up of everything announced, and we'll talk about that, and we'll see what we all think about it. So, going over to IGN, everything announced at State of Unreal 2024. Amy Hennig reveals Marvel 1943, Rise of Hydra, new tools coming to Unreal Engine, and more. At GDC 2024, Epic held its State of Unreal event, unveiling the latest news and developments coming to Unreal Engine, specifically Unreal Engine 5 and Unreal Editor for Fortnite. If you missed the event, here's a quick rundown of everything announced during the 2024 State of Unreal presentation. First, and probably the biggest standout for most people, I would say here, is Amy Hennig reveals Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra at the State of Unreal. In an unexpected yet pleasant surprise, Amy Hennig and Skydance Media started the show by unveiling Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra, one of two projects Hennig has spearheaded since joining the studio. Alongside a proper reveal of the game, we also learned that it would use Epic's tech, most notably MetaHuman Animator, to provide more photorealistic facial animations. Last year, it was revealed that Ninja Theory was using the same technology in its upcoming game, Hellblade 2: Senua's Saga. So, Amy Hennig, she's most well known for being at Naughty Dog, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she was at Naughty Dog
Uncharted.
and behind the Uncharted stuff. I'm pretty sure she was the one that briefly went over to EA to work with the Dead Space guys, and then that all got shuttered. So high-profile name here. We've all watched this trailer. It looks really, really good, maybe almost too good, and that kind of goes into the whole meta-human animator thing we'll talk about here. But I'll just say something brief and pass it over to you guys. I'll go to Josh first because I think he's the one probably most excited for this. But when I saw this pop up, Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra, and it had Captain America and Black Panther on the front, I was just like, my immediate thought before looking at it was like, who asked for this? Like, I'm a AAA Marvel game set in 1943 with Captain America and Black Panther. Like, that's such an odd decision, but pretty much, 30 seconds into this trailer, I'm like, okay, well, if the game's going to be anything like this, I think I'm interested. Skydance Media, Joe and I were looking into what they've done before. It doesn't look like anything too good, but then Amy Hennig's got such a high profile, and then this looks so good, so I'm like, maybe this will be good, but it was exciting for sure, and the tech was off the charts. It almost looked like live action at points. Josh, what do you think about this? You were the one who really wanted to talk about this.
Well, first, didn't she was involved with the Star Wars game that Project Ragtag, I think as it was known, and then it got canned, and then I think aren't they bringing that back somehow? Or did I dream that?
Not that I know of, but you could be right, Josh.
I probably dreamed it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good dream. But
I wish I had those.
Right. I'm pretty excited for this. I mean, they announced this like a year or two ago, just that it was going to be a Captain America and Black Panther game, I remember. But that was all the information we had on it. And I thought, okay, cool. So now we finally get kind of a look at it. And it just feels like about time, but in a good way. I'm ready. I think it was maybe the last Sacred Icon episode we did, or maybe it was the Sacred Games Daily one. It's all blurring together now. But I know on one of them I talked about just how much I've been waiting for Marvel games to get going. And now we're getting there with the Spider-Man games and stuff, and this is coming, and there's still some other stuff that's cooking too. So I'm happy to finally get a look at this. And I mean, it's set during World War II, it looks like, obviously. Wait, what's it called again? What's the title of it?
Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. 1943.
It just I think it's a kind of a cool title too, because you could easily slap on like Captain America, Black Panther, but they don't have that in there. It's just 1943
I'm glad
Rise of Hydra.
It makes me more excited.
Yeah. I liked its name, and it just seems very cool. I think this is T'Challa's grandfather, which would make sense timeline wise. But I don't know. I mean, they showed stuff in the tech demo that was going into specific details about the tech itself, and I know you guys will be able to talk more about that. But I was just happy to see the setting. I think the characters look cool. There's some side characters there, which looks like one kind of working with Captain America, another one working with Black Panther and stuff. And looks like they're going after the same goal, but they're going to have to maybe kind of team up after kind of maybe having a little showdown together. So that's what the trailer kind of indicates. The one thing I did like is at the end of the demo, they were showing when the two of them were having a confrontation that, she was talking about how what really matters is the facial animation, the expressions and stuff like that. So then she showed the cutscene again that we had previously seen of those two confronting one another, but with T'Challa's, or with the grandfather's helmet off. And you got to see his actual facial expressions, and they zoomed in and everything like that. And yeah, it just looks beautiful. I mean, she said herself this was no smoke and mirrors, but you hear that stuff before. So there's one part of me that's like, I really want to wait for the gameplay. But as it stands, I mean, this looks pretty awesome, man. I think this looks very fun.
I probably had one of the only people to think this, but the whole time I started watching, I'm like, please don't let Deborah Wilson be a character in this game. She's a character in every other game. She's the
I like her.
No, I like her too, but she's
that?
in every game. I'm like Seer from Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor.
How do I not remember her?
The black chick who's on your ship.
Oh, the mentor.
Yeah. She's in Suicide Squad. She was was it Call of Duty? I think another game. I'm just like, oh my gosh, and she looks the same in every game. So I'm like, I'm really glad she was not in this game.
The Deborah Wilson video game cinematic universe.
Yeah, the Deborah Wilson universe.
She's the main character. She's the main character.
I loved her on Mad TV back in the day.
Yeah, I think that's what she's known for. But yeah, this looked incredible. Joe, what do you have to say about this? And also fill us in on what you kind of know about the meta-human animator.
Yeah, I mean, going just from the trailer that I watched like 5 minutes ago, it looks absolutely incredible. I had no idea this was coming down the pipeline because, I mean, Marvel's not that big in the gaming scene. DC have always kind of had that like sort of market cap in many ways, that market share. With the Arkham kind of establishing those like not hack slash beat 'em up slash platforming routes, in the 7th generation and stuff. And yeah, I mean, it looks incredible. It looks absolutely amazing from a technological standpoint. I mean, the metahuman shit, which is basically this in Unreal Engine, it's this really hyper advanced character creator essentially, and it's really good to like onboard new developers into making something that's like cohesive very quickly and very advanced. And we'll get onto it later in terms of how it's going to come to the Fortnite editor and stuff like that. But you can see it in this trailer, just like you can see it with Hellblade 2, because they're using Unreal Engine 5 and they showcased it in a big way. But I think maybe a year ago now. Yeah, it looks incredible. I love I mean, like Amy Hennig's always been like kind of not necessarily the unsung hero of the Uncharted games, but she's not like as obviously big as like a Bruce Straley or a Neil Druckmann. But it's really cool because I can see her kind of like design tent poles behind just this trailer. I can see she never likes the idea of she's never liked the idea of platforming as a word in genres and modern video games. She's always liked the idea of traversal and stuff, and you can see that in the trailer immediately. It looks very fluid in terms of how like Black Panther is like running across rooftops and stuff and diving around and stuff like that. And you can see the Uncharted elements. You can see like the sort of like unlikely sort of team up between a Black Panther and a Captain America. You can see that there's obviously conflict at the end of the trailer there, where the straight-laced Captain America is kind of trying to keep Black Panther on the straight and narrow, and Black Panther's trying to go a little bit renegade and stuff. It's cool, dude. I'm liking sort of everything about it. I'm excited to see if hopefully this does well, because I want to see more Marvel stuff going ahead. Obviously we had Square Enix's stuff, and it was like kind of like that Marvel's Avengers game, and that fell right on its face, as everyone knows. So I think Marvel needs to come in swinging. I mean, like in many ways DC are down on their luck right now, so let's get the new era of superhero games in. So let's go. It's
funny you mentioned Avengers game, because I, not really knowing, this just popped up, not really knowing what it was, and Josh posted something in the Discord about it, and I was like, I thought this was, because at a glance, if you just see like still images of this Captain America, I thought it was the Captain America from the Avengers game, like this was part of that world.
Yeah, it's bang on.
And a common sentiment from, I think, pretty much everyone, including both of you guys here, is like the characters of the Avengers game looked like just B or C tier of the movie universe. And I was like, oh, I don't care about this. And then
big mistake.
And then Josh was like, oh, no, let's talk about this. And I'm like, well, what is he talking? Why is he interested? And I started looking this up, and I'm like, oh, this is like a whole thing. Okay, this is. Yeah, and then I watched the trailer. I'm like, okay, that's really impressive. And yeah, this looks very like it has its own style, its own take on Captain America, its own take on Black Panther, whereas Avengers looked like it was just like, hey, what if you went to Dollar General and got the Avengers?
It's very noir as well. The style about it's like really like, kind of mystery and stuff and sort of espionage, and I'm into that. One thing I will say, going back to what Josh said, I don't think you necessarily dreamed this idea that there was a new Star Wars original story in the works by Amy Hennig. Skydance are also, I've just looked it up, they're working, and they announced this in April 2022, they're working on featuring an original story in the Star Wars galaxy. So Hennig is working on something, and obviously Skydance, and it's in collaboration or with Lucasfilm Games. So they are working on something, whether it's Project Ragtag Reborn or something, no one knows, but it's in the works. So I don't think you dreamed it.
Cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's nice to know.
Yeah.
That's nice to know. Yeah. Man, there's so many Star Wars games in development, it feels like, and now we're finally seeing that with Marvel. Yeah. I'm just so happy to see it. I feel like there's so many different... The movies are just like inspiration, I think they should be. Let them be what they are, but like you have such a big history of comics. Why are you not tapping into that with the video game market? Yeah. And I think for most probably in the industry, they'd say, well, we've tried, but it's just not easy. But I mean, it doesn't seem like that's actually there.
Can you imagine if this game was releasing around the Infinity War time? Like how the sales.
Wow. Absolutely. But I mean, yeah, you have such a deep playground to play around with these characters, and this is a great example of that. We're taking it in a different timeline than what we've come accustomed to with the Spider-Man games, and what we know to be with the Wolverine game, and taking it back to World War II times, and with two characters that people really, really like now. I mean, Black Panther was someone that I mean, a lot of people liked, but the movies helped elevate that character. Just like Captain America, he was kind of like, he's just one-dimensional. But then we got to see him in the MCU, and people are big fans of him now. So it's nice to see them together. Amy Hennig, I have a lot of respect for. I really, really like her in the industry. She's someone you don't see talk a lot, like show up to things, but getting to see her again was pretty cool because I tend to like the games that I've played that she's worked on. I tend to like. So I feel good about this. At least I feel optimistic. But yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I just can't imagine, even if it turns out to be pee pee poo poo, that it is somehow on the same level, if not worse, than the Avengers game. I mean,
what bothers me is that it's the developer Skydance Studio, which hasn't really done anything good.
That's true. You gotta
obviously, Amy's awesome. Amy's awesome. So, but okay, you guys have any further thoughts on Marvel 1943?
No,
I'm excited. That is cool, man. Yeah,
we will watch over it with great interest.
Okay, little Star Wars reference.
Little Star Wars reference right for you guys. Okay, moving forward I like this at the Unreal Showcase. Epic is integrating MetaHuman to UEFN, which is the Unreal editor for Fortnite. As we previously mentioned, MetaHuman Animator is one of the tools part of MetaHuman. And Epic announced today that both MetaHuman Animator and MetaHuman Creator are coming to the Unreal editor for Fortnite. Epic says integration will debut at the end of April. With MetaHuman, UEFN creators can craft both photorealistic fictional characters and provide photorealistic facial animations using captured footage they obtain from an iPhone or a head-mounted camera. So I'll kick this over to you guys. I'll start with Joe, but I'll frame where I'm going with this, and if you guys have somewhere else to go, just disregard what I say. But for me, while this is cool, this to me just is like a bigger signal of what is happening in the gaming industry overall and where gaming is going, where we've heard Phil Spencer talk about how games are serving to be platforms that are growing bigger than the actual console itself. You know, you have your Roblox and all the games that come out Roblox. You have Fortnite, things that are ongoing that keep growing, like Rocket League and Sea of Thieves. And we really see the gaming industry shifting in this different direction where, like, video games themselves can become platforms, and people are learning how to develop games to a lesser degree inside of games. And you already have Fortnite that has its own like Rock Band, it has its own like Lego mode, it has its own racer mode in it, and Fortnite's obviously huge and is all over the place and free to play and on every platform. And then we keep seeing the way Epic pushes their engine and these tools, and it's like, where is it going to go from here? Because I mean, they've basically unintentionally crafted the metaverse. Like, we've always heard about the metaverse. Facebook wanted to do it, and just accidentally, Epic has pretty much crafted it. I mean, Fortnite's the only game I can think of where giant music artists have thrown concerts inside the game live.
Yeah.
So I just think that this stuff with the photorealistic stuff and you can take something on your iPhone and turn it into something in the game. We are seeing the beginnings of who knows what the gaming industry is going to look like in 10, 15 years. I'm honestly scared because I want it to just stay the same where I'm comfy. But I don't know. It could be a thing in like 15 years where everybody has their Fortnite account and you log into Fortnite and you go in the game and you go select 100 other games that are built within it. I mean, what is the size of the studio going to be if like what if Epic's employing tens of thousands of people because there's hundreds of games within Fortnite? Like, and for those of you that don't realize, I think everyone listening,
games, Brian?
Yeah, I think everyone listening probably knows what I'm talking about enough here, but to re-clarify, we're not talking about modes, guys. We're not talking about Fortnite has Slayer or Battle Royale. We're talking
about practice.
Fortnite has an entire different game in it. Like, you could go play something. You could play a first-person shooter like Halo or Call of Duty within Fortnite, and then leave that game and go play a racer, and then leave that game and go play like a Rock Band, and it's all within Fortnite. So I've went on very long there. Joe, what do you have to say about this? What do you think?
I mean, based on what you say there, I wouldn't be surprised if they one day just rename Fortnite or like make a game above Fortnite that's like just says Unreal, and that's your platform.
Could be.
And then in that's Fortnite, another game, and
Sounds
then within
very Facebook though, where they're like, we're actually called Meta now.
Yeah, but within each of those games, you've got different modes and games and game. Oh, mate, that's crazy. Like, it doesn't interest me at all to play that, but like that concept is wild because that is. I mean, in many ways, if you get to that point, you're essentially like homogenizing the entire industry in terms of the player count. Because the amount of people that's playing Fortnite right now, like, imagine that multiplied, like, exponentially, you know? Like,
it's kind of scary.
But the metahuman stuff's cool because what this says to me is, one, it's getting more accessible for developers, like, especially smaller developers, to just make things. I mean, the fact that you can put realistic animated faces from your goddamn phone or your tablet or whatever the hell, right? Your up-to-date smart device into a, you know, framework, into an engine, and then it just worked. Like, imagine saying to a developer like 20 years ago who made Crash Bandicoot or something, like, oh yeah, you would do this in 20 years. What?
Nah.
They wouldn't believe you, you know?
Yeah.
But it's cool, dude. I mean, like, the stuff that people are making in this Fortnite editor is pretty wild. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's so many different like little game modes and all. I mean, it's basically becoming Roblox. Like they're trying to compete with Roblox in that.
Well, it's a game engine, right? Like it's a game engine inside of a video game.
Yeah. And I wonder if this is going to get to a point where like people are making like kind of new wave machinimas in Fortnite, kind of like how they used to do with Halo. That's cool to me.
What's kind of crazy to think about, because we've already seen this with like Snapchat and like TikTok and stuff, but like essentially you could manipulate this, so it would have to be unofficial, of course, but somebody could like make a game where you play as Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yeah.
And it's just his full-on face and voice and everything using this technology, and it's scary, but it's cool.
Combine that with AI voice.
I got Victory Royale and duos.
And duos, that's good. That's good. Josh, what do you have to say about this?
Who gives a shit? No.
That's how I feel on a personal level.
I mean, look, no, in all seriousness, I what Joe said, I agree. I actually agree with both of you guys. So what Joe touched on, I mean, I do think that is exciting. There's a part of me, like way back years ago, I remember thinking how cool it would be if like I could somehow before this stuff was even a thing as tech is now, of like just somehow being able to face scan my game. I'm not talking about Rainbow Six Vegas 2 ass vision camera scan, you know, or like the 2K stuff that you see, but like actually like the way they're talking about now, getting yourself in a game, but also like how cool would it be if I could record dialogue and my character actually was me being voiced? And I thought nowadays it's like, well, you could have that. I would love it. I would love to see it get to a point where like I could actually have myself scanned in an RPG. I would love to have myself reading off dialogue that they said and then they just AI program it. What's up with that shit-eating grin, Brian?
I can't wait till you play like the Dragon Age 5 and some elf is like, you know, I've lost my son in the kingdom. Can you help me find him? And then it just goes over to Josh's character where he's made the AI say what he wants to say. He's like, show me your ass. Like, can you help me find my son?
I'm more okay. That's funny, but I more so mean specifically how cool it would be if it actually like imagine a game in the beginning going through the creation process and like it having you read off dialogue and then taking that template and using AI to have you communicate whatever they've already written.
Yeah, that's cool, but that's where people get real scared because they're like, ooh, AI in games. Are we losing jobs here?
Look, change in the future is scary, and I totally get it. Same thing with what you said about the industry. I'm just open to whatever it wants to do because, you know, I'm getting older. I can't play every game I want to play. I just don't have that kind of time. No one does. So, you know, it's going to be cool to see what changes, what works. And I feel like with every generation, there's something new that gets innovated upon that is awesome and welcomed. Then there's another aspect of having to play contention with, you know, Red Ring of Death, microtransactions, games as a service. There's always something. There's always a con to a pro, and there's always a pro to a con. So I'm excited to see what that stuff shapes up to be. But I get why it's scary and how much gaming changes. Because there's a part of me that's like, I'm playing Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and I think to myself, I wish gaming could just stay in this pocket. Because even then, it was starting to get kind of crazy, pre-order stuff, you know, and DLC, season passes. But, you know, and that stuff was cool at first.
Was my favorite.
Yeah, but it was cool at first, and then it started getting manipulated and taken advantage of and stuff. But I think back to that time kind of, and a little before that, I'm like, I wish gaming could stay here. But there's the other part of me that's like, well, yeah, nothing can stay the same, though, and it shouldn't. You got to evolve. So
that 360 PS3 gen, it had that perfect mix of, like, the best visuals and the best gameplay and the best prices and content mixed with, you know, we're pushing to the future a little too much, but not enough that it bothers me. We got great multiplayer. Like, that was the sweet moment in time.
Yep.
We lived through it. You guys ready to move on to the next section?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Epic will launch a Fortnite season developed on Unreal Engine Fortnite next year. As part of the roadmap, Epic Games revealed that by the end of 2025, it will ship the first season of its widely popular free-to-play Battle Royale, made entirely using the level editor. Beyond that surprise, Epic went into more detail about the roadmap and the new creator tools it will add this year. This includes confirmation that the highly requested first-person camera setting will arrive in the Unreal Engine Fortnite engine sometime this year. Unless you guys have something to say on that, I think we can kind of just move on to the next part. Just interesting detail.
I'll say one thing.
Okay.
This is a prime example of like how you make your kind of in-engine game/level creators, right? Like I think about teams such as Medium Molecule, right, under Sony, who made Dreams, but when Dreams was kind of put out there was no reason to make, and there was no way of sharing your games you've made in that game maker, and it was just this weird, unsupported, kind of artsy-fartsy mess that didn't really go anywhere. And all I'll say is that based on that, the fact that they're so confident that they will make seasons within their own little editor and stuff that they've made, kind of like if Halo made a Forge campaign or some shit like that, right? I think that speaks, again, volumes of like how crazy Unreal Engine is, but also how confident they are in this editor, basically. One thing I will ask you, Brian or Josh, I heard that like they made some multiplayer maps on Forge or something, like for Halo Infinite. Is that true? Like,
yeah,
like, not the newer ones. I mean, like the base versions. I heard like they used the Forge tools to make stuff pre-release. Is that correct, or am I missing that?
Are you talking about like 343 developed maps with their own Forge editor?
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I don't think it's nearly as versatile as something like this. But
No. But I think it, like, if you've got it, use it. You know what I'm saying? And I think other studio, I know it's obviously like, I mean, Fortnite and Unreal, you get into a point where you're comparing apples and oranges, even if it's the same genre of game or whatever, or the same ultimate goal of these other contemporaries. It's like you're comparing, I don't know, a killer whale to a fucking clownfish. You know what I'm saying? Like, like the size difference is crazy, so it's hard to compare. But I think this is cool. It speaks for their confidence. It speaks for the confidence in their product, and I think it's potentially a benchmark going forward in terms of the studios using their own tools to make content. So,
absolutely, Josh. Any thoughts on that? Or we got
who gives a shit?
Yeah, this isn't big for me either.
Should we call this episode "Who Gives a Shit"?
Who gives a shit?
In all seriousness, though, Joe makes a lot of great points, and I mean, what this whole show is to do, you know, what it's trying to showcase is just the future of gaming, and that stuff's always exciting. There's that part of me that's like, I just wish it was here now, because some of these things, like this is a little different, but some of the things, bigger picture wise, is like it takes years to really see what they're showing off now. It takes time for it to see that put to execution, but no, I mean, this is definitely cool. And I mean, Fortnite, dude, Fortnite's awesome, man. I don't even play it. I played a bit of it, but it's nice to see what they're doing with that. And if I was someone that was like all in on Fortnite, or at least was younger to the point where it was like my Halo or something, wow, man, just to see it evolve and grow and change. I mean, it started in the last generation, and we're seeing how it's evolving, carrying over, you know. And I mean, you can't stay the same forever. You have to innovate. Otherwise, like, you eventually lose people. But we're seeing this innovate and evolve, and I mean, that's very cool to see for lasting power for the brand, I think.
Moving forward, Fortnite creators will get access to elements from Rocket Racing, Fall Guys, and Lego assets. So for those of you that don't know, Epic owns Fall Guys, they own Rocket League, they don't own Lego, but they signed a deal to make a part of Fortnite that's like a Lego game, kind of like Minecraft. So they're basically saying here that you'll be able to use the assets from these games to create things within Fortnite. So it goes on to say, Epic continues expanding on the Fortnite creator economy by introducing new creative devices and racetrack templates. Specifically, the publisher revealed the Fortnite creators would be able to leverage elements from Rocket Racing, Fall Guys, and Lego, allowing creators more ways to express their creativity while building unique experiences all within Fortnite. Fortnite's creator economy has continued to grow strong since both it and the Unreal Fortnite engine editor launched roughly a year ago. Epic revealed that since then it has paid more than $320 million to creators in the first year of engagement payouts, and that creators have published over 80,000 created islands. So, yeah, I mean, they're giving people the tools to do everything they possibly can in their game. You know, I'll never fully be able to grasp that back when Gears of War 3 came out, 2011, you know, that was such a hype moment for a lot of us. I know me and Josh were there together at the midnight launch. Nice. And a year after Gears of War 3 launched, it was like this culmination. It was the end of a trilogy, Epic, you know, just going all out on Gears of War. A year after, Fortnite was revealed as their next game, and it was this cartoony survival game. And my immediate, you know, pessimistic thoughts as at that time I would have been 19, 20 years old was, oh, well, I'm glad they got the good shit out before they decided to make the dumb shit. Because I was like, oh, Gears of War trilogy is great, but their next game after Gears of War 3 is another survival game with cartoony graphics. Who cares? And then to think that what I was seeing when they announced the survival cartoon game right after Gears of War 3, what I was seeing was not only quite possibly the biggest, most successful game of all time, but like a platform in itself that would host other games and help people become game developers themselves and have like musicians hold concerts and stuff in it and be like the future of the metaverse. Who could have ever predicted, you know, little old me playing Gears of War 3, seeing their next game, the survival? It's insane to me. I'll never fully be able to fathom that happened. Because who would have thought Fortnite, right? Like you always, when you picture something grand and amazing, you go to all the things that
Call of Duty.
Commonly expected, yeah. Really cutting edge graphics, realism, you know, big names behind the project, you know, a survival shooter from Epic, like cartoony. I'm like, eh. And of course, as we know, when Fortnite came out, it was like the end of the world campaign or whatever. When it was the survival thing that it was.
Was it Save the World or something?
Save the World, yeah. Like, to be fair to me, that game did kind of come out and nobody gave a shit about it.
No, they didn't. It actually got poorly reviewed, I think, as well. It was kind of like 6 or 7s.
It was just they immediately pivoted to the Battle Royale, and it became like, oh, well, we have these great tools and this way to develop quickly, and they just took over the world. So I don't know.
Have access to play the campaign as it launched?
Oh, yeah, you can play it. Yeah, it came out first. It's just, it came out, no one gave a shit, and then, like, I don't know if it was months, it was very quickly, they went, oh, PUBG did Battle Royale. We can do that in our engine. And then it was bigger. And the thing is, PUBG dropped the ball because PUBG was, like, the first to the Battle Royale thing, but their game was so glitchy and buggy, and they made all this money, but they didn't invest in fixing it quickly, and then Fortnite was here, and it ran perfectly, and it had building mode and all this stuff, and everyone was just like, well, I'm going to go over to Fortnite.
Pretty collars. Yeah.
But I'm going to read the next article as well, and then we can kind of talk about all of this because it's kind of all in the same vein.
Yes,
some new details on Epic Game Store mobile version. We already knew that Epic Games was planning to release its digital storefront on mobile devices via the iOS App Store and Android's Google Play last year, thanks to the new EU legislation, the Digital Markets Act. Epic took time during today's State of Unreal to share its plans. It touts that the Epic Game Store will become the first ever game-focused multi-platform store that will work across Android, iOS, PC, and macOS. Epic further revealed that mobile developers will benefit from the same fair terms found on EGS, with an 88/12 revenue share, in addition to other programs that allow you to keep 100% of the revenue earned from using your own payments for in-app purchases. So a couple reasons why this is big. I mean, it's their whole storefront, you know, put onto mobile, and like it says here, you know, developers will be able to have a great revenue share and benefit in ways that they never could from Steam. But also, for those of you that are like really in tune to all the gaming industry drama, I mean, Epic took Apple to court a few years ago to complain about how Apple was dominating the market and basically, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word, but Apple was basically taking so much of the market share, it was pushing others down from being able to grow. There's a simple one word for that, but if you guys think of it, let me know. But they went to court and basically lost, and then Apple was like, all right, you lost. Get fucked. You can't put anything on our phone anymore. And just Fortnite just hasn't been on iPhones, which is kind of like one of the biggest, if not the biggest phone
know that.
in the world. Yeah. So like it was just like Epic screwed around and found out. And now that's what
so
happened.
PG. I love it. I love how PG that is.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Screwed around and found out.
Screwed around and found out. But now they're going to have a way back on, right? Because of this new law from the EU legislation, they're going to be able to just release the Epic Game Store to iOS, and then you can play Fortnite through that. So they found a workaround. And then, Yeah, I guess I'll quit reading for a little bit.
Still
Let
going.
you guys comment on that.
It reminds me of like when you watch a movie like on television and like it gets to a part where they're like, oh, and then they
it
say
blocks
the
it
F
out.
word, but instead it says frick. You know, you can
Well,
clearly.
the funny thing is, I dropped an F-bomb like 5 seconds before I said that. So.
No, I love it though. I think it's great. It's just I've not heard it phrased that way, so it's new to me. It's new to me.
yeah.
What do you think about things, Joe? I mean, you can go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't have much more to say here. Joe, what do you think about between you being able to use all the assets from all those different games in Fortnite and then the Epic Game Store coming to mobile?
Can I just say how crazy it is that like they paid out more to the creators in $320 million than Remedy make like are worth? Like,
Yeah.
don't you think that's wild?
They also paid more out than it cost to create The Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like that was $100 more million they paid out to
Gives
creators.
you something to
then.
think about.
It does give you something to think about.
Bro, we're living in Epic's world.
See, and I don't want to go on forever because I want to cover Dragon's Dogma 2 still.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see so many changes in the industry because we're talking about like ballooning costs of AAA games and stuff. Like how we're going to get to this point where games are being successful and being developed and being released and being put out in ways where they're not $300 million games that need to sell 15 million copies to make money. Like we'll always have that. You're always going to have your GTAs and your Naughty Dog games or whatever, but like I can see a lot more people going, you know what? We have this studio with 100 people and we could work on a AAA game for 6 years and spend $200 million and hope that we sell 10 million copies to stay in business. Or we could make a smaller game. We could go make a game within Fortnite. We could do some of this kind of partnership stuff and potentially make a game way less ambitious and be way more successful, which I think is important for the health and success of the industry and the employees. And that's always more important. Like employee health and being able to have a job and support your family, that's more important than games. Like that'll always be more important than games. But like selfishly, it does make me a little like concerned. Like, are we going to get to a point where the huge GTA, Last of Us, Witcher 3, Cyberpunk level games are few and far between because the costs are only rising. So
yeah.
That's a good question. It's a good question.
Joe, do you want to comment on any of that, or Josh, or any of that stuff? I mean,
I'm gonna take a page out of Josh's book here with the mobile stuff. Like, I mean, it's great and everything.
say it.
But I don't give a shit.
There it is.
Yep, there it
is. Like there isn't a
this
side
is
of
Don't
me
Give a Shit Daily with Josh Hartman.
He's bleeding into us. But yeah, I don't care. I mean, mobile is like so far away from me as a gamer. Like I can't. No games on mobile hold my attention. It's cool that like Apple have not kind of smothered Epic to the point where they can't get on the App Store anymore. But aside from that, okay. like it's kind of a weird flex, okay, kind of thing. But yeah.
I mean, the last two kind of topics to touch on from this Unreal Showcase is one I have nothing to say on. I'll come back to you guys. Maybe you do. Dune Awakening gets a deep dive, showing how. So there's this new Dune game that's an MMO that we've all seen for a while. If you're a gaming enthusiast, you've probably seen it already. It's an MMO. The three of us aren't really interested in MMOs, but this is kind of showing how it leverages Unreal Engine 5. And then the final thing they talked about was Unreal Engine 5.4's full release is coming next month, which is the next iteration of the engine. I don't have a lot to say there, but ultimately this was a cool showcase showing the future, kind of the future of gaming and what Unreal can do and how flexible it is. And then in the midst of it all, we got a really cool game announcement with Marvel 1943. But any final thoughts? We'll go to you first, Josh, from all of this particular news with the Unreal stuff.
The Dune stuff looks cool. I mean, it's an MMO, yes, so I probably won't play it, but there is, a curious affinity for it. I want to see how it shapes up more, how it looks fully when it's actually, like a fully playable state. So I've got my eyes on it. The show overall, I mean, it's for myself who has this mindset of like, I just, I prefer more the game announcements, the game news, the stuff I can tangibly like touch, play, interact with. I mean, this doesn't interest me as much, but in terms of like the future of the industry and stuff, very interesting stuff and very informative, very cool. But also, of course, there's that cautiousness to some of the changes and things you hear. But yeah, I mean, they kicked off with a really good opening announcing that game and showing it off just a little bit.
They grabbed your interest and then they trickled down the shit you don't care about.
Yeah. That's how I feel like it happens for every show, though. Every time it gets to this stuff, gets to the Xbox press conference, I'm like, maybe this will be the year where they do something big where I'm like the one freaking out. Like, like the people on YouTube, and you see the big face where they're like,
Yeah.
and it's just that thumbnail. I'm like,
People got to go back. You can go back in the archives and find the Microsoft's E3 2020. Josh and I recorded, and it opens with Halo Infinite gameplay. And there's a point on there, I'm paraphrasing, where Josh is like, "Oh my, they're opening with this? Oh my, can you imagine what they're gonna have in this showcase if they're opening with this?" And then it goes on, and like, I'm not to say that there's nothing interesting that they went on to show, but they went on to show us the title card for a new Fable. Here we are, 4 years later, Fable's still nowhere to be seen. They show us the first look at Avowed. That is coming out this year, but we still haven't played it. They showed us Everwild, which not even sure that game exists anymore. It was basically like Halo Infinite opening the show. That kind of was the biggest moment, and sadly, that was when everyone criticized how bad the game looked, and the Craig memes came out. So,
that was the Palace of Pain one, huh?
That was that one. So,
inside joke.
There we go.
Out of that one.
Any final thoughts on this, Joe, before we move to Dragon's Dogma 2?
So, Dune Awakening is being made by a studio called Funcom. They made like Conan Exiles, which is like a pretty popular game. It kind of takes like notes from things like Ark and has more survivally elements.
Is that an MMO too?
I don't know if it's an MMO. I think it technically falls into MMO category just because the amount of people on a server at a time, but like it has a lot more mechanics dedicated to like a survival game, hunger, food, shitting in a bucket, all that shit. So it's kind of like like I have a buddy who loved Conan Exiles, and so this kind of, if it goes more the survivally route, could potentially interest me. But my thing with Conan Exiles is it was always like kind of the weird, more boring version of Ark in many ways. Like there's no crazy dinosaurs. Like you're on a less interesting landscape, which is all deserty, as far as I'm aware. So Dune, even though it's got the desert again, which I'm tired of desert settings, bro.
Hey,
like
me too, bro.
Like I'm just like it's the reason I haven't watched Dune 2, because like even though I watched Dune 1 and I really liked it, like if the setting is boring to me, like I'm just tired. Like I don't want to be on. I don't like sand. Okay.
I need a Dune but it's snow. Instead of Dune, it's called Avalanche. And it's the same story but with snow.
Our next review on Apple Pod will be Anakin Skywalker as the name. And he's like, I like what that Joe guy said about sand. Fuck that.
True. He was always right, guys. Come on. But it looks cool. I just hope that like the budget's raised with them like kind of being backed by Unreal and stuff. It seemed Unreal. But me.
Yeah, fair enough.
It would have been cool if it was like an RPG. And like
anything but an online only game.
Yeah, like third person, narrative driven. Like, that'd have been so cool, dude.
Riding sandworms and shit.
It is interesting to still see MMOs coming out. They're more niche now, it feels like. But that's when you see it, I feel like that's a talking point for people, because it's like, I remember when that was huge, when that was like the main thing that people were playing, like, the World of Warcraft, like peak time. But now it's like, what are you doing?
Like when I see a game and then it's revealed to be an MMO, it's like I see a big juicy burger with toppings, and then I hear it's an MMO and like the patty's just not there.
To relate on the movie side, it reminds me when people this year went to see the new Mean Girls movie, didn't know it was a musical, and then they learned that in the theater, and I remember seeing a clip and people were just like, immediately lost interest.
I love how the guy came out afterwards and was like, "Yeah, we didn't tell people that it was a musical because those aren't very successful." It's like, you asshole.
I watched it. It was okay, but yeah,
I know, but it's such a dick move.
It is.
That guy's smart as shit.
Yeah,
like he just admitted, it's like, yeah, we weren't going to tell you what it was, but so that's it for the Unreal Showcase. Obviously, I think the standout for all of us was Marvel 1943. Hopefully, I think they said that game releases next year. I'm not going to hold my breath. I would say. Could be 2, 3, 4. Who knows?
There's probably
maybe you'll never. The game
be
industry is so unreliable now. I feel like here's the funny thing, and I think Josh will appreciate this. It's kind of a joke nowadays. It's like, a new Star Wars movie was announced. Maybe we'll see it. Maybe it'll just get canceled quietly. I mean, how many we've seen that? It feels like 6 times already now in a row. But to be fair to Star Wars, I feel like that's just the gaming industry as a whole. It's like everything that's announced and shown off. It's like, will that come out? Is that real? Was that a trailer? Did they announce this just so they could get people hired at their studio? Like, it didn't even Everwild. I don't think that's going to be a game.
Well, there's so many hoops to jump through now, right? It's the game gets announced. When will we see gameplay? Then we see gameplay, and it's like, okay, when does this come out? Then we get it, and then it's like, Is it in a broken state? Is it actually like fully working? Is there DLC or do you have to patch it? And there's just so many like checkpoints to kind of get through to just actually have a good experience, I feel
And then there's the epilogue, which is the Jason Schreier Bloomberg article, the problem behind the scenes of the game you just played.
Yeah. It's one of those. It's a shame that we have to be so skeptical nowadays. And in all honesty, like they always say, like the best marketing is word of mouth, and it's still the case. Even after all this, like sort of crazy high level, high budget marketing firms that go, that get behind these games and stuff. It's crazy that like just your friend going to you and going, dude, trust me, this game is absolutely amazing. You need to get it. Like Elden Ring or Helldivers 2 kind of shit.
Helldivers 2.
Like that's the fact. Like the fact that that's more trustworthy and that's something we can rely more on. Just innately is a shame.
Word of mouth is huge, dude. I remember when the Xbox One was announced, like the initial announcement with the Kinect and the price and the online DRM. I went out of my way to tell every soul I knew that the Xbox One was dog shit and convince them to get a PlayStation, because I'm like, this is before they made the changes, guys. This is when you had to be online all the time, connect in the box, all that stuff. They told, hey, if you're in the military, we have a system for you. It's called the Xbox 360. Okay? I was like,
I love the lisp you have there.
So bad.
Yeah, it was so bad. So like I told everyone.
That's your answer?
And the thing is, I wasn't the only one doing that. Everyone was out there convincing their friends, don't buy the next Xbox. It's awful. Buy a PlayStation. It's cheaper. They respect you. They let you share your games. So yeah, and in the other direction too, like Helldivers. Like I work with a lot of people. I work at a hospital. I know a lot of people play games there. Of course, games are mainstream, but at the same time, I don't generally hear people in the hospital talking about video games as I pass by. Yeah. But I started hearing about Helldivers because that word of mouth is so good. Yeah. So. If you have any other thoughts, Joe, I'm about to go over to Dragon's Dogma 2, but let's get something to say.
No, all I'll say on that is there was not a more low corporate marketing point in history than when Major Nelson went on Boogie's channel and sat with him in his bedroom and was like, our console is great, guys. It's awesome. And Boogie's like, no DRM? It's like, no DRM. We've been in the pool. It's like, bro, like, what's going on? Like, why aren't you guys...
I did not know that was a thing.
Dude, look it up. It's so weird. It's such a weird
awkward
thing. Yeah, it is a bit.
Especially since Boogie has been ousted from the industry in a way that... basically he's... And for good reason. I'm not trying to be political or whatever, but like he's been shoved out for things he's done. Basically, nobody really addresses him or anything.
I know of him. I just don't know much of that stuff. But yeah, we can move forward.
Let me smell your breath.
Yeah, so going over to Dragon's Dogma 2. So this is Dragon's Dogma, the original, was a game that came out and wasn't really popular, didn't really sell that well, and then it developed a cult following. I've heard about it for a decade now. I've never played it, but Dragon's Dogma 2 was announced, and it was like, hey, we're letting this team do a game that they're passionate about, take another stab at this IP. It's from Capcom, which right now Capcom has one of, if not the best reputation for a publisher right now. Everything Capcom has been putting out for years has been fire. It's been fairly priced and done. Like, just Capcom's on a tear. And stuff was coming out about Dragon's Dogma 2 and previews about how it looked to be really special, really great, potential Game of the Year material. I am personally really interested in this game. I'm on the fence of buying it. I mean, the reviews tell me that I want to. It's just another huge game. I'm really interested in it, though. It's kind of got... I said this to, I think it was to Joe. Yeah, I think it's kind of got this whole, like, this vibe that Dark Souls does, where it's like Dark Souls is weird and archaic, and it doesn't follow any structure that you're used to, but that's kind of why people love it. That seems to be what Dragon's Dogma 2 is. It's not that it's a super hard game necessarily. It's not like, that's not why I'm comparing it to Dark Souls, but yeah, but I thought it looked really good, and the reviews came out today, and I kind of wanted to shout out some of these reviews and kind of get your guys' impressions and what would it take for you to play it. I already know Josh's answer. Nothing. I'm not going to play it for sure. But Joe, maybe. So, but I'm going to go into these. I'm going to read 2 of the highest reviews and 2 of the lowest reviews. And if it paints a picture of how good this game is being received, the 2 lowest reviews is a 7 and an 8. I couldn't find anything lower than that. And then the 2 highest are both 10s. So this is the verdict, kind of the last paragraph from Eurogamer for the review.
Your face just got illuminated in a heavenly glow.
Yeah, it's because of that white text I'm reading here. From Eurogamer, this is Dragon's Dogma 2 review. It says, I do think a lot of what Dragon's Dogma 2 does scratches an itch for me, and that some of the things I love about it are specific to me, but the longer I've played it, the less I've worried about my own bias towards it. Even if I haven't played the first Dragon's Dogma, I can tell you with complete certainty that I have come to the same conclusion I have now, and I have given Dragon's Dogma 2 the same score, simply because no other game in recent memory has inspired the same feeling of captivation and wonder in me. The joy of discovery lies within all of us, and Dragon's Dogma 2 succeeds in evoking that magical feeling in a way no other game has before it. 5 out of 5 stars. Perfect score from Eurogamer.
Nice.
Going over to another 10 out of 10. This is from VG247. This one's a little bit longer, but I thought it was worth reading. Each change helps the core charm of that design shine through all the greater. That was Dark Souls after Demon Souls, and to a certain extent, this is likely to be also the same tale with Dragon's Dogma 2, except, hear me out here, this is a better game and a greater leap than that comparison first suggests. If we're sticking with the Souls comparison, this is like jumping from Demon Souls to Dark Souls 3. Dragon's Dogma 2 is wickedly clever, tightly designed, self-aware in all the right ways, and refreshingly unconcerned with whatever the latest trends are. The only game Dragon's Dogma 2 is really interested in iterating on and answering to is the original Dragon's Dogma. For fans of that game, there's delightful bonuses, references, and punch-the-air moments too, but even for newcomers, what should be plain is that Dragon's Dogma 2 does its own thing, and its own thing is magnificent. The caveat is that it's only so magnificent if you can stomach a game that quite deliberately has sharp corners and rough edges. The rugged texture is part and parcel of Dragon Dogma 2's charm, but you have to be willing to take the rough with the smooth, as the saying goes. If you are, you'll be... I didn't know it. If you are, you'll be handsomely rewarded with not just one of the best games of the year, but one of the best games of the generation. 5 out of 5 from VG247. So those are two 10 out of 10 reviews. We'll go over to some lower ones, which, like I said, they're still great reviews. IGN gave Dragon's Dogma 2 an 8 out of 10, and they say, Dragon's Dogma 2 is a strange and wonderful game that seems haunted by some of yesteryear's bugaboos. It is a retelling and re-implementation of all those wonderful ideas from the 2012 cult classic, including an awesome dynamic world and some of the best combat in the genre that integrates a subtle but amazing complex physics system. On the other hand, its finicky ally AI, clunky climbing, choppy frame rate, and camera with the habit of going haywire at the worst times are all features I wish hadn't been brought back for another round. Even so, there's an action RPG here that's richly rewarding and incomparable to its contemporaries if you can be patient with its quirks and open to embracing its hands-off, open world, and quest design. So much like Elden Ring, I've read about this game further. There isn't quest markers above people's heads. There isn't things that tell you where to go. It is just go live in this world and let it happen. If you see an NPC, talk to them. Maybe they're a quest giver, maybe they're not. I find that really exciting. The biggest criticism I see everywhere is that the performance is severely lacking. On consoles, it is 30 frames uncapped, which means it's going to go up to 40, it's going to go down to 21, and that's all you can do. And then on PC, it seems that even with some of the best cards, the same issues are happening there. Over to our last review, and lowest review I could find. This is from Metro, and this is a 7 out of 10. It says, in short, an entertaining open-world action role-playing game with an interesting approach to AI-controlled companions, which proves disappointingly similar to the 2012 original. Pros: lots of character classes and skills to unlock, constant shifts in party composition help keep fights fresh, and your journey feels invigoratingly dangerous for a few good hours. Cons: battles eventually become routine, the plot's thinner than Patrick Stewart's hair, and the structure and content remain almost identical.
Why the
to its
shade
aged
toward Patrick Stewart?
Predecessor. Yeah, I never go to Metro, so maybe that's why.
Wow.
It's the hate.
Reminds me of the dude doing the Spider-Man soundtrack. Metro! Brian's like, I don't know what the hell it is.
I just chuckle and laugh, Josh. It's laughing, chuckle and laugh.
Chuckle and laugh. That's Brian. That's under your bio.
Yeah, right. Joe, what do you have to say about Dragon's Dogma 2? What would it take for you to play this game? Does it sound good to you? Are you any more interested now? Love to hear it.
So what's cool about like you reading all those reviews is like as we go through them, you can kind of see what the first 5 out of 5 or 10 out of 10 sort of reviews are saying about like if you're up for this, you'll adore it. But then there's also the other side, which is what they say can happen where it's a bit rough around the edges.
If you're not up for it.
If you're not up for it and you haven't got the patience and stuff. Because Dragon's Dogma was, like, from the couple of hours I played of... I think I played like 5 hours of the original. It was always a little bit clunky. It was always like a little bit obtuse to get into. And had very unique mechanics. Clearly Japanese innately. But it's exciting, dude. I mean, that idea that it's kind of like... doing in terms of the gameplay and like onboarding players, it's kind of in many ways a soft reboot in all the right ways, which I think is really, really cool. Again, similar to, not to always talk about Helldivers 2, but Helldivers 2 is very similar in that way. It's like, okay, well, it's been so long since the last one, let's redo it kind of, and like let's get people on board. Very cool. I like the idea that there's no quest markers, obviously taking pages out of Elden Ring. I mean, that was it Eurogamer that said it? That it's a jump from, or was it VG? No, VG 247. That it was more like a jump from Demon Souls to Dark Souls 3.
Big jump.
That's like a really, really incredible like thing to say about a video game, because Demon Souls, and then we're not talking about the remake here, guys. Like Demon Souls original was really, really weird in how it played. Like I don't know how many of you guys have played it, but it's very clunky. It was clearly a proof of concept game, and Dark Souls was like kind of that sort of sprinkle of refinement in many ways. But so to say it's like the jump from Demons to Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, wow. Incredible stuff. Definitely on my radar with those conclusions there. The frame rate worries me because I'm a sucker for good frame pacing, especially, but also frame rate. I need a solid 30 at minimum because I'm not trying to play 24 FPS cinema. Like it's just not. I need clear input on my button prompts. But I'll probably pick it up later down the line. I'm happy for my buddy Fox. He's been like basically loving the lineup for this game, like the release window and stuff. He's been really hyping it up. So yeah, shout out to Fox for that one. I hope it's good for everyone. I hope everyone gets on with it. I hope it's great. This seems like a Game of the Year contender this year, and
I really hope it's in the running. I really do. And
I think it will be.
It's Metacritic right now. I mean, of course, this is the first day, but usually at this point, things are pretty settled. It's an 87 with 54 critic reviews, generally favorable. It looks awesome. I know there was a trailer that really won my heart, which was it was a 7-minute trailer that was Ian McShane, the guy from John Wick. He was basically taking you through all the systems and what it's like to play Dragon's Dogma, and his voice just really brought me into the world. And I want to play this, man. Like I'm not sure, like, because I've been there before where I've bought a game and then I'm like, well, I don't like that, so I guess I'm just stuck with it now. But I really feel like I'm gonna like this one. I'd be willing to. I dodged that bullet, but
not me.
I'd be willing to pay $70 for this game. It comes out in 3 days. It just looks awesome. I just think this game looks so freaking phenomenal. And Josh, what do you think about it? I mean, you're probably not going to buy it, but what do you think about it?
Well, I was hyped as all get out. 10 out of 10. I couldn't wait. I changed all the backgrounds on my phone, Xbox, and computer and everything to Dragon's Dogma. I was talking about it. I got it paid for on a billboard of a bus, and stuff like that, like advertisement. I was so excited and everything.
Got a t-shirt.
And then I read, once you mentioned the Patrick Stewart comment, they threw shade at him. I thought, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like on Shark
Tank.
Good
news for you, Josh. That was Metro.
Website.
That was the website. So it wasn't the game. So you can still buy the game.
That's okay. I canceled my pre-order as we were recording this. No. In all seriousness, that game looks awesome, and I'm not gonna get it anytime soon. But this could very well be a game. Like in terms of the realms of like, is this a possibility of something that you could play at some point? Absolutely. This does look very cool, and it's nice to hear some of the feedback. And I feel like I would probably enjoy a type of game that isn't necessarily Souls related, that doesn't have the quest markers and stuff like that. It would be kind of fun to have that more adventurous, exploratory feel, and that would be neat. So this could be the game that gets me.
I get a little bit of those Baldur's Gate 3 Underdog vibes. Like, it's obviously a very different game, but it's like it's not. It's kind of the thing that, like, everyone's like, oh, Dragon's Dogma's good, but we're not really looking at it. Oh, Baldur's Gate's good, but we're not really looking at it. And then it came out, and it was like, oh, shit.
Well, you two guys are more in tune, obviously, but I think you said, Joe, that, it could be Game of the Year material. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Don't you think it's fascinating, though, like, how FromSoft have not only, like, kind of claimed the title of difficult video game comparatively to the reward player feels, like that gratifying feeling. They've earned that stigma, that sort of like benchmark in the industry, but now they're also earning the benchmark of kind of like free roam, emergent, natural gameplay as well.
Though I gotta give credit to Breath of the Wild.
Well, yeah, 100%. But like, I mean, the fact that people are like going on like it's FromSoft doing this now, because like I feel like because Elden Ring's the last one, like obviously came out. Like the thing is Tears came out after Elden Ring, right?
Yeah. But Breath of the Wild,
but Breath of the Wild was the one that sort of started that style. So then Elden Ring comes in, and that's kind of like what everyone has in their mind when it comes to like the next
Recency
sort of style. Yeah. It's
and
crazy.
To be fair
dude.
to you, though, I do think Breath of the Wild took cues from Dark Souls. Just, I think the open world design change I would give the credit to Breath of the Wild, because I feel like that was the big breakout thing in 2017. It was like, oh, I thought all we could do for open world was Ubisoft. Like, I didn't know this was possible. Even right now, I'm playing Rebirth, and I love Rebirth, and it's great, but like Rebirth's basically using the Ubisoft template. Yeah. Towers, go here, do this same quest in this area, then you go to the next area, do the same quest there. Yeah. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just cool, and like all I was gonna say was like it's wild to me like how impactful FromSoft is.
So
like,
much.
I mean, they are a studio, as far as I'm aware, that's only 300 to 400 people, and they make games that are revolutionary every single time, and basically change how we basically contextualize how games should be made every generation, which is crazy.
I would argue that games are just not as easy as they used to be. Even games that aren't Souls related at all aren't as easy as they used to be, because there's this general idea in the industry now that people want to have a little bit of a challenge. And I think that Souls largely brought that back, because for a while it was like, oh, I should be able to play this with my eyes closed and no hands, and just not even try. And so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is cool. I don't know if you guys have anything more to say about Dragon's Dogma, but great stuff. I keep saying this, but Capcom, and you say it, Brian, Capcom is on a massive roll right now.
They're awesome.
They're a snowball rolling down the hill. I hope it doesn't, hit a rock and split. Like,
no, yeah.
Keep going, because I want more.
Is there a publisher that's doing as well as them? I mean, there probably is. I don't know if I could think of it off the top of my head, though. I mean, I wouldn't say EA or Activision. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Capcom's kind of the peak right now. Do you have anything in mind, Josh, of like a publisher that's like constantly releasing?
I'm not the guy to ask for that one, but I appreciate
Sony, I guess. But
Sony, I guess you could say, but
yeah. I mean, that's kind of cheating him, anyways.
It is kind of cheating. You could say Nintendo.
Yeah, Nintendo. You could. That's the thing. I mean,
I would say third party. This is third party. Well, FromSoft's not the publisher though.
That's Namco. True. That's Namco. Yeah, good point.
So I would say third party publisher. Capcom is the peak, probably.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, 100%. They're holding that third party up. Yeah, it's great stuff. Keep going, Capcom, because I want you to fucking make a Resident Evil 5 remake ASAP. Get on that shit. That's my guilty pleasure, bro.
I'm tempted to buy this just for the support. I'm tempted to buy this just to support them. Like, maybe I won't play it right away, or maybe I'll play it and not like it, but like I think I will like it though, because like there was something so amazing about the first time I played Souls, and it was like, oh, I don't really like this, I don't really like this, I don't really like this, and then after a while it was like something clicked, and then something else clicked, and then it all clicked, and I was like, holy shit, this is an amazing experience. Okay. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much for it for the news today. To sum it all up, we talked about the Unreal Showcase, the reveal of Marvel 1943 with Captain America and Black Panther, some of the new tools coming to Unreal Engine and the way that stuff works, cool technology, and then we went over to Dragon's Dogma 2, and these great reviews, and it releases here in 2 days, same day as Rise of the Ronin, and I haven't talked to Joe about this yet, but I think we'll probably do a Sacred Games Daily regular episode proper tomorrow, and tomorrow is when Rise of the Ronin reviews come out, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. These two games come out on the same day. I'll be interested. It's an exciting time. I'm really interested in picking this up, but yeah, guys, I'm going to throw my final pitches for Sacred Games Daily, and then I'll pass it over to you guys to say your final words before we get out of here, but yeah, guys, you know, if you've been listening to Sacred Icon, you know the kind of content me and Josh provide. It's a lot of times it's long, it's free form. Me and Josh talk about what we want, we joke. It could be about a movie, a TV thing, it could be a game. It's very unstructured, and that's how we want it to be, and that's how we liked it to be. It can be an hour, it can be 4 hours. But the Sacred Games Daily, this offers another avenue to consistently talk about the latest gaming news in a very short form. Like I said, 30 minutes with Joe. About 3 days a week. Sometimes Josh comes over there and joins us on there. But like I said, 30 minutes. If you could go follow us, listen to us, leave a comment on YouTube, leave a rating score on iTunes, on Spotify. Go check out Sacred Games Daily, guys. We have a blast there, and I'm sure we'll be mentioning it more on this show And hopefully you guys enjoyed this crossover episode. If you enjoyed what you saw here, like I said, this is what you're going to be getting over there. Just not always with Josh, sometimes with Josh. But we really appreciate you guys. Joe, final thoughts on this episode, any of the news, Sacred Games Daily, what's up?
Yeah, fantastic episode, guys. It's always lovely to be joined by the one and only Josh. I mean, we'd have him on every episode of Sacred Games Daily if he'd just join us.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. Come on.
Been nothing but welcoming, so I appreciate it. I'll be there when I can.
Please do. But yeah, great episode, great news. Love talking about all the industry stuff, and obviously just like little sprinkles of Dragon's Dogma there. Yeah, come see us on Sacred Games Daily. We'd love to have you. Send in a voice clip if you haven't already, just like Wes did on the previous episode, and yeah.
And that's the cool thing about sending a voice clip is like Wes sent in a voice clip and he had like 2 great news points, and we just made half the episode about his news points because they were better than some of the ones I pulled up. So pretty cool. Josh, over to you. Final thoughts before we get out of here?
Well, I'm always excited to be joined by the great Joe. Get him on this show here and just
it's the beard.
It's the beard. The beard's the foot in the door, but then there's so much more than that. I'm like, let's tour the house of Joe Smalley. And it's just so much to love. But yeah, guys, this was a great episode. Had a fun time. For everyone listening, like Brian said, this is what you guys can expect over there on that show. Just covering news topics, what's relevant, topical in the moment, and getting the feedback about that. Whereas we kind of talk about things unstructured and we're kind of all over covering different things. You guys get the real focus there, which is great too. So 2 different kind of offerings and 2 different kind of co-hosts and stuff like that. And you got Brian on both sides of it. So he's crossing over into the Marvel and the DC universe.
Double dipping.
Yeah, double dipping his nuts into both the Szechuan sauce and the Chipotle sauce. So anyway, guys, yeah, this has been fun, though. I've had a great time.
Yeah, so to give you guys kind of a schedule, me and Joe usually record Monday through Wednesday. Like I said, 30-minute episodes on contemporary game news. Josh and I kind of, move around when we record, but, you get one thick episode from us each week. Right now, the plan is, if everything goes according to plan, this Sunday, so just in like 3 or 4 days here, the 3 of us plus our friend Wesley are going to record an episode on Final Fantasy VII Remake, not Rebirth, not the new one. We're not spoiling anything. We're just going to talk about Remake from 4 years ago. That's going to be this Sunday. That'll be next week.
Looking forward to chatting with Wes. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. That'll be next week's episode for Sacred Icon. And then, like I said, you'll have more me and Joe on Sacred Games Daily next week. And then Josh and I, if all goes according to plan, we would like to return the week after that with a nice, juicy episode on the Star Wars original trilogy. We went through the prequels, we went through the kind of the spin-off stuff, and we've been chomping at the bit to talk about these originals, but we've just been busy with other things. So lots of content coming for you guys there. I mean, if the content really, makes you happy, go to patreon.com/Sacred Icon. There's also that. But yeah, guys, we love you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Sacred Icon /
Love
Sacred
you guys.
Games
Thanks
Daily.
for listening.
And as always, keep it sacred daily.
Peace.